Chris, pleasure to be speaking with you both. We'll start with you, Mark. Two-parter. How's your day going? And how's your day going knowing that the Alabama solution is such a masterful work right there?
So far, my day is going great. I appreciate it every day. I live in the doctrine of we only have one day, and that's
Sure.
the day in the present. And I'm very glad that the Alabama solution is out there making a noise. It's got quite a reception. It's got quite a reception on social media. A lot of questions are being asked. I'm just a big fan of the superstars who were even featured in the movie, which is Kinetic Justice and Melvin, who are just advocates of justice for all at the expense of themselves. I'm also concerned for the people who have told their stories because they risked their lives to tell these stories,
Sure.
and we pray for them to be safe. And as Kinetics told me, one day, it's taken on one day, and the power of taking on one day. And what he said for all of us is just, I'm just glad that we're being heard today.
Sure. Chris, in your case, how did you come on board with this project?
Well, Mark and I have been working together for years, and
Hmm.
he has been friends and colleagues with Sue Jacobs, who's the music supervisor of the project for, I'm not sure how long have you known Sue for? I mean, a decade or longer? Or,
Longer.
yeah. So Sue reached out to Mark, and Mark saw the film and reached out to me, and I saw the film, and I mean, that was pretty much it. I mean, it was just mind blowing. I mean, to watch it for the first time, even in the unedited, like um, early days of it, it was just even then just so incredible to see that it was, it was just to be a part of it was, an absolute honor.
So, Chris, you and Mark have worked together on a lot of different projects, which I'm going to go into in a little bit. But what was it that initially connected you two? And by that, I mean, sometimes you find out, hey, both of those people like the New York Knicks or something like that. Was there a commonality or a common interest for you and Mark?
We had a mutual close friend that was a neighbor of mine that introduced us, and then I mean, I pretty much just stalked him for a while until he finally was like, okay, I like this guy enough. But that's pretty much, then we became friends over the years, and he liked what I was working on, and I've been a fan of what he'd done, in over his career. I mean, when I was young, I would, not knowing that Mark wrote the songs, I would cover some of these songs that Mark wrote when I was younger, when I was 20 years old, 18, 19, 20 years old in college, playing in college bands, having no idea that one day I would, know Mark and work with him.
Mark, is that how you remember it too?
Yeah, yes, indeed. We have a friend of ours is a singer and a songwriter in her own right, and she told me about Chris. And after I met Chris, he seemed to compliment a lot of the things that I don't do. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't focus on engineering as much, and Chris is a masterful engineer, masterful guitar player, an unbelievable guitar player. Just an overall genius musician in his own
Mark.
respect. So to combine what he did and what I did, we made giant steps forward. I mean, we took on a project once that I think we had to mix and finish an album of 12 or 13 songs over a weekend because the album had to be delivered. And
Yeah.
we just turned my house into multiple mix rooms, and we just dived in and got it done. It was an Anthony Hamilton album at that.
Oh,
That also was nominated for a Grammy for the album that we worked on. So we've been fortunate in all the projects that we've worked on. Chris was good friends with the people from Lionsgate and Stars, and brought me
hmm,
in on the Power franchise,
yes.
which a 50 Cent franchise, and we've been scoring that for 3 years. It's been the greatest learning experience, and I just learn from Chris every time I go in the studio, and also because he is such an aficionado of gear and programs, I also wind up spending money every time I see him.
Well, you mentioned Power before I could, and I've had the pleasure of interviewing Tank and most of the cast, and I have this theory, a two-part theory about Power, and I want to hear what you both think about it. Okay, number one, it is the biggest cast of triple threats on the planet, where everyone in that cast can act, sing, or rap and dance more than any other show. And the second part is it is the most watched show on television that everyday people have not heard of or do not know that it is the most watched show on television. Am I off base with both or either of those?
I don't think so. I laugh with my wife all the time about Power because she's like, everybody knows, and I'm like, well, it's like insanely popular, but also hit or miss. People are either huge fans of it,
Yeah.
like where they know everything about it, or they've literally never heard of it. It's
Yeah,
like that. There's like no in between.
it's the number one show for Black and Latin television. So it covers that market and delivers for Stars, which is not per se HBO or one of the bigger networks, but a fine network nonetheless. But it does have a, a cult following and possibly much more than a cult following, and people who follow the artists and entertainers everywhere they go. And you're right, Darren, it does have a tradition of performers who are multi-talented performers and people who have come from different genres. And this is a very strong tradition, I think, in the Black creative arts. I just had a meeting the other night. Ben Vereen
Hmm.
came by my house to talk about a project that I was doing and wanting to help us out with the vision of it. And I'm thinking of the times, when artists sang, rap, sang, danced. You had the Sammy Davis,
Yeah.
you had Ben Vereen, you had the artists who did all those things. And I think 50 Cent being coming into it as a musician, performer, who I think is a fantastic actor
Hmm.
on the show. His performances on the original Power are legendary, and I think shocked a lot of people. And I think if it was not called Power, or if it wasn't a 50 Cent kind of thing on Stars, he possibly would have received an Emmy for that performance. So those performers would have received Emmys. It's just kind of perceived as this kind of urban crime, drug dealer drama, and not sometimes just featured for the incredible
Yeah.
performers who are delivering these monstrous performances that are affecting people's lives and quotable in the entire Black community and Latin community as well.
Yeah. And how many shows have four simultaneous, or is it five? Plus, kind of BMF is kind of like a crossover as well. It's the biggest universe that people don't know about, which is incredible. And congrats to you for being such a long-term part of all that. Now, Chris, throwing it back to you again. Alabama Solution is why we were connected, but how many projects are you and Mark able to work on at the same time? I ask that because most people, when they're starting out, kind of can only do one thing at a time, but then eventually they learn to delegate and all that. In your case, you and Mark have like three, four things going at once.
Yes, I mean we haven't hit our ceiling yet. That I don't think. I think that we're yeah, we still have a lot of room to grow. I mean, and we've built out a great team. Um, we've got another young composer that works for us named Robert Bressler, who is just one of the most talented guys I've ever met in my life. And so we're constantly growing, and we're able to scale, and but we multitask well, and we haven't really hit that ceiling yet. I don't feel like we're even anywhere near it.
Chris, that is kind of a high mark right there. Mark, do you agree that you're not anywhere near the ceiling?
Definitely not. As far as what we're doing together in the composition world, we're just getting started on what we're capable of. I think that's why this Alabama Solution film was so important for us because it got to really showcase
Hmm.
our work on in composition in such a serious serious and directly challenging medium as the type of documentary that it was.
Hmm.
But we also have a bunch of projects that we have brewing at the same time. There's artists that we're working with. We're writing, always continuously writing songs with various artists, and and the people will come in and out of are legends, of course, like the Anthony Hamiltons and then the
Hmm.
Leanne, the people like that. But I still pop in and out and work with Dr. Dre from time to time on whatever he's got going on. So we keep it pushing, we keep it moving. We're working on a variety of different things, but we're just opening up this door to the film composition and what we are going to be able to accomplish in the upcoming years.
So if I can keep the compliments going right here, all the things that I'm hearing are kind of gratitude oriented and craft oriented. And I'm not getting the narrative of, man, I have no creativity left in me. I have writer's block. I'm not hearing the, oh, Spotify and royalties aren't what they used to be, so I'm not going to do this anymore. I don't hear any of that in speaking with either of you.
No, the way the industry runs, it has ebb and flows in every industry. And I learned a long time ago with technology that, it's technology is like a steamroller, and you're driving the steamroller, it's going to roll over you. So we've never been afraid of any technology, not been afraid of streaming. We pivoted at every turn. Of course, for myself, it's a huge difference where we had publishing, which is based on if you bought a record would cost $12 or $13 for 13 songs. So theoretically, a person had to pay $1 per song
Right.
to listen to the work that you were created, and then that dollar was split amongst the writers and such. And so now that scale has went down to 0.0005 of a percent of a penny, the publishing is not the same numbers, sustaining numbers as it used to be, but the performing rights numbers are still pretty good, and
Hmm.
we pivoted. I think that's what artists should be able to do is say, how can we work these particular times? Like how can we be successful with the new means that we have? So now there's new forms of creativity. There's new technology being created. There's artificial intelligence technology being created. So it's just being aware of everything kind of stops you from getting into that lull or that rut where the world is against us as creatives. It's up
Yeah.
to us as creatives to establish what we're doing to continuously build, to keep finding our space, no matter how the world is operating.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I think that, and I think Mark will agree with me. Both of us are very curious people. Like we're always looking for something to learn, something new, something to get into,
Hmm.
whether it's writing or developing non-music related projects, or learning a new piece of software, or learning a new piece of music, or learning how to use whatever technologies out there. Or we're both of us are constantly trying to just we're always asking questions of like, what's next and what can we do, how can we learn this, how can we get better. I feel like that's when you're focused on that, when you're kind of focused on the work and focused on just trying to be as exceptional as you can at whatever you're taking on, you don't really have a whole lot of time to complain about the other stuff. I mean, of course those thoughts are in your head, but I mean, it's kind of out of our control. So as long as we're constantly innovating, there's a win there.
Well, one question that I have for both of you before I let you go, and this goes in a very different direction. And the background on this is I went to a concert a couple of weeks ago. It was Babyface and other people. And Babyface did this mind-blowing thing where he did a medley that was basically over a half hour of all the songs that other people have cut that he's written or co-written or whatever it was, and you kind of go like, and that didn't have everything in there. And so you two have had so many cuts, so many songs recorded by other people, notable people, film scores, etc. So I want to hear, Chris, what was the first cut that you had, the first placement that you had? And it's okay if it wasn't a major thing. I'm just curious how far this all goes back for you first.
Oh wow. Okay. So my my very, very first cut, I was in college and I co-produced a song that ended up being recorded by a reggae group called The Movement, who now they tour all over, now. And I didn't even sign a split sheet. I don't even get I get nothing from that. Like, I didn't even know.
Oops.
I didn't know anything about the business. I was in South Carolina. I was just a guitar player sitting in my room by myself all the time. You know what I mean? So I didn't even know. I knew nothing about that. So there's no, but yeah, that was my first cut. Yeah, that, and yeah, that was a long time ago.
Well, did that lead to a publishing deal, or that was still a
No, I
long
mean,
ways
like,
away?
I didn't know anything. Like, I didn't know anything about it. It didn't change. I mean, I didn't know anything. Then I moved to LA after that, and kind of just moved on with my life. My first label cut was with a Belgian artist on Universal, and but no, I never signed a pub deal. I never. I mean, there were years I couldn't even chase somebody down to give me a pub deal for many years, and now I don't need one.
Now you don't need one. Mark, same series of questions at you. And I believe what I just heard Chris say was very inspiring, because you didn't let that bad business sense deflate you for the rest of your career or make you quit. You just went, oh, okay, next time don't do that, because more is going to come. In your case, Mark, is there a good anecdote or two you can throw my way?
Yeah, when my first cut, I was really struggling in the industry to get things moving. And a friend of mine who I went to college with named Ron Lawrence, he was one of I can't remember what they called the Puff Diddy called, producers then, but there was the
Mm-hmm.
Hitmen, I think they were called.
Mm-hmm.
And they were producing a bunch of records. He had just done Money, Power, Respect for Little
The
Kim.
Locks?
He did for the Locks. He did
Yeah.
something like a Phenomena for LL Cool J, and he came to me and they had an R&B artist named Carl Thomas, and they
Oh,
asked me,
yeah.
would I be down to work on Carl Thomas's album? So he asked me to put together. He knew I did R&B, and he said to put together a tape. And so I put together a tape. I had 10 songs, and back then you had to run the tape. You couldn't like specifically put like 6 songs on there. You just had to pressure that and then run it onto a cassette.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 10 songs, not 9 songs that I like, and the 10th song that I didn't. But the 10th song was just on that deck. So in order to just time conveniently, I ran the entire amount of tracks on there. And then that last song, that 10th song that I didn't want on the tape, that wound up being the track that everybody liked. And that song wound up being a song for Carl Thomas called Cold, Cold World. And then that opened the door for me to meet with Kadar Massenberg and Rob Watson, who was his A&R at Motown.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first album I produced after that was NDRE's first album, Acoustic Soul.
Wow. I didn't realize that you were on the India RE and Jack Ponte and all that. I didn't realize okay. Next time I interview you two, we're going to go more into that kind of stuff. But in the meantime, hey, thank you for the many decades of great music, both of you. Congrats on the Alabama Solution. Congrats on the success of Power. I'm really looking forward to what's to come.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Paltrocast.